I do think there's a lot of young men right now that need guidance. Like, for example, I have a young man in my family. I mean, I'm not going to say who it is because to respect his privacy, but, he reaches out to me all the time with questions. He asked me the other day, he was like, I don't get it. He's like, do I need a dad bod or a fit bod? Like, how do I get laid? Like, there's just a lot of mixed messages and stuff going on, I think, for young men. So I think what you do is really important work,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. I mean, it's kind of framed as the crisis of masculinity in our culture. And there's a lot of hot takes about
Yeah.
what actually is going on. But I think hopefully I would hope that we can all agree that it's a massive problem for a multitude of different reasons. So yeah, we do what we can.
And I think this like confusion about masculinity is why you're seeing these polarizing figures like Andrew Tate show up. Because I think,
Hmm.
he's almost like a cartoon. I'm not a huge fan of Andrew Tate, but at the same time, I could understand
Hmm.
why young men are attracted to him because he's almost like
Hmm.
this cartoon character of what
Hmm.
extreme version of like kind of what they're seeking in a way,
Hmm. Hmm.
So it makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
I think people like Andrew Tate, they fill a void that is, there's something lacking in the
Yeah.
experience of a lot of young men. And a lot of times that takes the shape of someone who embodies the sort of this it's a sort of power and self-determination um and a kind of a sharpness to
Yeah.
the way that he shows up. And there's something, I think, instinctive about testosterone based nervous systems that gravitate towards that sort of way of being, for lack of a better way to put it. And if there's no role models, if there's no one encouraging young men, that young men need to be encouraged, and that like they're going to find role models. And so if there aren't positive ones necessarily, it doesn't matter. They're going to find themselves drawn towards people like Andrew Tate because it's tapping into that feeling of like, oh, that's somebody who's embodying the qualities that I can't really describe, but I want that for myself. I want to have agency over my life. I want to have a sense of power. I want to be taken seriously. Um, Not that Andrew Tate is or should be taken very seriously with
Yeah.
everything he says, but those sorts of things I think men gravitate towards instinctively.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting on a whole nother thing here, but it's almost like why little boys like superheroes, right? Like they kind of want to look up to that
Yeah.
masculine figure. It's funny.
Yeah.
I interviewed someone who writes comics, action hero type comics. And I was asking him like who was his favorite superhero, like what inspired him, and he said Superman because he was like I was like, wow, like when he explained it to me and broke it down to me, I was like, he is an inspiring dude. And the way he explained it to me was that Superman does the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. Like he's not proving anything. He's not trying to make up for something wrong he did in the past. It's just, and I do feel like the world needs more men like that are doing the right thing just to, when I really think about who are those figures that exist right now who possess that power, but also have empathy and love. For some reason, the one that comes to my mind is Joe Rogan. I feel like he is
Mm.
such a force of like masculine energy, but also like the Superman type, who he's like a
Hmm.
good dude. Like he's not
Hmm.
um, going to use that power to produce evil in this world.
Yeah.
So I think the
Yeah.
world needs more men like that.
Yeah. I think that's a good example.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question, what drew me to a podcast that I found you, it's funny that the algorithm just kind of sent it to me. And I was like, I want to interview this guy on my podcast because this
Hmm.
really fascinated me, was your work with psychedelics in assisted in therapy. So my first
Hmm.
question for you is, well, I have a lot of questions about this, but the first one is, what do you recommend people look out for to make sure if they want to go down the route of exploring psychedelic assisted therapy?
Hmm.
Um, how do you recommend that person choose a location that you think is legitimate and
Mhm.
safely practiced.